Hi, hello, this is Nova. Where have I been? Well, 7 inches deep in your mom, that's where. I've been, trying to get out content, but I have this thing called a life, and that life has been pretty packed, pretty hectic, so motivation is dead, and the channel's probably gonna stay dead for a little while longer. Nova, that was uncharacteristically snarky for you. You're being pretty assholeless today. What's up with that, man? I'm worried for you. Well, for one, thank you. And to answer the question, it's half because of dumb niggas who seem to think that minors on the internet owe them their lives and that the whole world revolves around them, and I constantly have to tune out content for them. The other half is because this fucking narc can't keep my name out of his mouth, bro. Now, people might be getting tired of me. Some might be saying, Nova, you're just stirring up drama at this point. This isn't even about you. This is about a cyberstalker. And honestly, I'd agree with them if it had been just that. Him confronting the cyberstalker and debunking the allegations. But for some reason, I was brought up. So I'm going to say my piece since I'm sick of this nigga always playing the victim. Before we get into this, I'm going to preface this video by saying I do not personally believe the allegations levied against ESS, who I'll refer to as Ace for the rest of this video because I'm not fucking saying ESS over and over again. And I will not be commenting on those allegations since that's not really what this video is about. The only thing I have to say about it is that his defense is whack and quite pathetic for someone who's asexual.
That Annie laid out. I find it strange that Annie's allegation on me was a sex crime. You do know that I identify as asexual, right? Meaning I don't experience sexual attraction. And this isn't just something I'm pulling out of my ass to defend myself. Ask anyone that's known me in the past few years and they'll tell you the exact same thing. Hell, the Ace thing is a part of the namesake for this entire channel. Ace is short for asexual, and my online username nickname used to be Ace.
Yes, asexual people do not feel sexual attraction, but it's not like your libido is just dead. Several asexuals, including Ace himself, have said this. They've backed up the claim that, hey, asexuals aren't completely sexless. Hypersexual asexuals are a thing. The people whose struggles aren't taken seriously because of misconceptions like the one Ace is peddling, that asexual people don't feel sexual desire. Pretty weird for an asexual person to be saying that, but okay. I'd also like to say that grooming often isn't sexual, since it's preparing the victim for that sexual contact when it becomes legally okay to do so. For someone who claims to hate sexual predators so much, you should be aware of this. I mean, for fuck's sake, you were so quick to bash on Clay in January of last year when it was socially acceptable to do so, and bash him again in this video without even realizing that a lot of the evidence we had against Clay wasn't him being outright sexual. I mean, it was him preparing those victims like Makoto or Recom for those planned sexual encounters, often starting from a place of romance or faux care. Anyways, that tirade out of the way, let's get to what actually prompted me to make this video. At roughly 5 minutes into the video, I don't know how to talk. At roughly 5 minutes into the video, he begins to address my Novarichem to the community. Something that has zero to do with the cyberstalker, but he decided to bring it up anyway.
I'm going to throw in a little disclaimer in here just to really ensure nobody gets this twisted. The following criticisms I bring up are not about Nova and Saren as people or creators. I'm addressing the community response from the Novaric Hymn video, and how some people behaved after it was released. After the Novaric Hymn dropped last May, I got so much shit slung my way. I had basically all of my former friends in the community abandon me except for a few, and I do appreciate y'all that are still with me. Those same former friends that walked were talking shit behind my back in my own damn server for weeks, and probably in private as well.
I know he says he isn't attacking me and Saren as people or creators, but this immediately rubbed me the wrong way, and my feelings would be validated shortly after. He goes on to say that people who we thought were his friends turned away from him and were talking behind his back in, quote, his own damn server. One thing I have to say here is that isn't your server, it's Jenny's. You gave it to her because of all the shit I brought up against you. You can't do that, then get mad at people using that as a forum to vent their frustrations with you. It's not talking shit. It's the result of idol worship that you cultivated amongst your fan base that I called out last year, by the way. They saw their idol in a spot other than the pedestal they put you on in their head, and they were angry. That's your fault. After this, he brings up a semi-valid point, and that's people claiming he was lying about his partner's medical emergency in order to avoid responding to me.
I had content creators telling me I was faking my partner's medical emergency just to avoid taking accountability.
Now, I'm not going to defend this since it's fucked up. You know, that's his husband. He's probably not going to lie on his husband. But, see, I was actually here during this, and I know that Ace omitted some crucial information as to why people felt that way. First bit of information is that he tends to kind of have this pattern of behavior. He does something fucked, people want to squash the beef or talk it out, then he comes up with a million different reasons as to why he can't, or just straight up ghost people, all the while continue to blasting them like they're the evil ones. Now, I say people because he hasn't only done this to me. I'm only using my personal anecdotes with Ace because the others have asked not to be involved. And unlike him, I'm a respectful fucking person who doesn't put my friends on blast and weaponize my fan base as a way to force them into doing what I want. The second piece of evidence he omits is that he's done this to me. I'm not sure if I already covered this in the Novera Kim, but just for safety's sake, I'll go over it again here. Ace and I got into a disagreement in Jenny's server, and I couldn't respond because I was dealing with a very stressful family emergency. And yet, Ace didn't seem to care nor take that into account. He just called me immature, combative, and, banned me from the server, which... Oh man, that's rich. Prior to that, I also had a scare with my grandmother, which I don't really want to get into, but what I will say is that I did believe her life was on the line due to, a severe medical emergency. And Ace knew this. I told him and several other close friends, yet he just didn't take this into account when addressing my supposed combative behavior. For fuck's sake, he admits to this stuff in his response to me and in personal apologies to me. Yet now he wants to act like the fucking victim because he knows his fans won't check him or will forgive him without even caring about what the other person has to say. We'll get back to this point about his response later. I can most definitely assure you that. He also asserts that because of this distrust in him that he got cyberstalked.
And as you saw, I got cyberstalked for at least 4 months.
Which... contradiction much? You just said it's been happening since January of 2023 when all your videos were getting disliked. Yet somehow a video made half a year later started it. Okay, makes sense. So funny thing, I was gonna have Saren on this video and he was gonna go at the end, but his section is relatively short and it also covers this section of Ace's response, so I'm gonna let him go for a second. You can listen to his fucking chat GPT generated as script, and yeah, I'll get back after Saren AI is done talking. I'm not being serious, I love my Pookie.
I'm addressing the community response from the Novera Kim video, and how some people behaved after it was released. After the Novera Kim dropped last May, I got so much shit slung my way. I'd basically all of my former friends in the community abandon me, except for a few, and I do appreciate y'all that are still with me. Those same former friends that walked were talking shit behind my back in my own damn server for weeks, and probably in private as well. I had content creators telling me I was faking my partner's medical emergency just to avoid taking accountability, and as you saw, I got cyberstalked for at least 4 months. Basically, everyone I knew in that space turned on me in the wake of the Novera Kim video, without even talking to me to hear my end of the story. And a lot of these people knew me personally, and I'm honestly really surprised that they couldn't just sit down and talk with me, to be blunt with you.
That situation unfolded as a direct result of displaying narcissistic traits towards friends and refusing to work on resolving conflicts with them. The presumption that others would come to your defense or listen to you blindly like your husband did was unfounded, as people naturally recoil from those who exhibit narcissistic tendencies, on top of your behavior Nova and I already mentioned. With evidence and testimonies working perfectly against you, your credibility and trustworthiness was ultimately brought into question, making it difficult for your own friends to believe your side of the story. Essentially, your friends' lack of faith in you stems from your own actions and manipulative behavior. Furthermore, it's important to consider that Ace consistently uses any chance he gets to cast aspirations at Nova, suggesting that the individual cyberstalking him had ties to the Novaric him or was just motivated by it. This is false, and I have receipts. On the date of April 25th, yes, I'm getting fucking specific with this shit. Fuck you. Manipulated screenshots were brought to our attention, allegedly depicting Nova confessing to doxing somebody who had practically launched a smear campaign against him. Almost weeks later, we came across comments from another person inaccurately doxing Ace and branding him as a groomer, fabricating misleading screenshots and manipulating the facts to pin the blame on Nova, essentially orchestrating a false narrative to absolve themselves of any wrongdoing while causing drama. Similar to Nova's kind of analysis, it appears that he only identifies the community as toxic when consequences arise from his own action. While it's true that toxicity completely fucking overflows the EAS community, Ace's viewpoint is only clouded by his personal experiences. This behavior is a prime example of his continued display of narcissistic traits and self-centeredness. This attitude further manifests in his negative perceptions towards those who have distanced themselves from him, which I guess for some reason he felt like it needed to be said that he didn't like them. I don't know. It's fucking weird. They don't really care. They kind of distance themselves from you, buddy. Once you're kind of exposed for being a narcissist and I don't know, just like an asshole overall, you know, your credibility and like everything else just kind of disappears. And so no wonder they want to distance themselves from you.
Okay, so now that that's done, I'll continue. So after this, he says that a lot of people, including people who knew him personally, turned on him in the wake of Novaric him, lamenting that they couldn't sit down and talk to him to hear his side of the story. This is heavily ironic, not only because this is what he and his fan base did to me, in which I addressed that in the said Novaric him, but it's also because you admitted to it in private in Jenny's server on your fucking channel. You admitted you were in the wrong, and now you want to whine because people didn't want to hear your side of the story. That's because you already gave it. And newsflash, Ace, people don't like being associated with lying, manipulative, narcissistic asshole niggas like you. That's why they turned on you. He admits this later, by the way. He also once again asserts that because of Novaric him, he's being cyberstalked and facing false allegations.
My frustration comes from the fact that almost nobody took the time to hear what I had to say during that time. People just took everything Nova said as gospel and ran with it, and now almost a year later, I have someone threatening my life. Which is why I'm making this video sooner rather than later this time, as I'm ensuring people hear my side. I'm not playing games with y'all. I'm a grown-ass man with a full-time job, a partner, and responsibilities. I'm taking this shit seriously, even if it may just be an empty threat. I tried to be hands-off with the community in order to take some time to heal and learn more about myself and just become a better person, like I was told to do. And, well, that did end well for me in terms of becoming a better person, but as you can see with the situation now, it didn't end well online. I let people talk shit and drag me through the mud without retaliation. I thought this would eventually even out. Yet somehow my name keeps coming up. In September, Nova made a community post trying to nudge me into response, and from the looks of it, I was brought up again in a video of Nova's from December. Not long after that is when Annie began trying to knock down my door. Now, I will say, I don't think that this is Nova's fault. I know he doesn't encourage that kind of behavior, as he stated in his response video to me very blatantly.
He also says that I made a post in September trying to nudge him into a response, which, no. I made a video about your response then. I even gave you the benefit of the doubt and said that it was good faith and tried to take the position that the reason your response was so ass was because of genuine mistake, not malicious intent to hide from what you've done. But I see I can't be kind with niggas like you anymore. I just gotta be an asshole all the time. I just gotta do all this shit. And about the December video thing that he brings up, that was a year in review. I brought it up because it was a major event for the EAS community. I mean, you're just as big as creators like Clay or Radio, yet you had such a big reveal of character, and it made a lot of people upset. So, it's kind of a big event for the community, and it's gonna be in a year in review centered around the community. To be fair, he tries to cover his ass by saying it's not my fault and that I don't encourage that type of behavior, which I don't. I've been a victim of it myself. I've been on record blocking and banning people who engage in that type of shit. No questions asked. But he's basically doing the, oh, I'm not touching you thing we did as kids. Like, sure, Nova isn't responsible for my cyberstalker, but, he kinda, my cyberstalker kinda started after he posted his video, so, yeah, that's basically what Ace is pulling here. So, after all this, he begins to talk about the things he's been accused of since my video was made, such as being a narcissist, an abuser, and a groomer.
Y'all know this. I have also been called and accused of being a lot of things by community members since Novera Kim dropped. A narcissist, an abuser, and now a groomer, just to name a few.
As far as I know, nobody ever claimed he was an abuser. I'm not sure where that's coming from. And the groomer allegations have only been something brought up by the cyberstalker. The narcissist allegations, well, they're true. You were showing genuine narcissistic behavior back then. You do and say what you want and try to pressure others to bend to your whims, and even use your fans, former server, or just emotional manipulation. And even when your close friends who tend to side with you and more than, me and the people you went against, even when they checked you and said you were going too far, you just hid behind your husband who always came to your defense. He shielded you from every single piece of criticism and only sung you songs of praise. Those are the type of things narcissists do, my friend. You do what you want, and then you surround yourself with this group of hype men who are always going to tell you, oh, no, you're the best. They're wrong. You're doing this right. They're the wrong ones. You don't listen to them. Like, I get it, that's your husband and all, but part of a relationship, especially, marriage, husband and husband, is that you're supposed to be the best for your partner. You're not supposed to constantly hype them up even when they're in the wrong. You're supposed to let them know when they're wrong and try to help them through that. You're not just supposed to blindly follow your partner. You're supposed to love your partner and help them off that wrong path because you love them, because you're husband and husband. But, you're a narcissist, and, presumably he is too. So, I guess you guys don't know that, yeah. Next, he talks about his hatred of sexual abusers, and I guess tries to make himself look good by calling out how the community reacted to me and my friends exposing Clay.
Sexual predators with a passion. It's really unbelievable. If you've heard me talk at all in the past year, I'm very passionate about that sort of thing due to life experience happening to me. I would never try and reproduce that pain onto any other human being. That's a disgusting fucking thought, and I think people that willingly abuse minors or anyone sexually should at the very least be put in jail, to put it nicely. Do you remember back in January of last year when I made that video to signal boost and spread awareness on the Clay Ranger situation, aka that Clay was a sexual predator / pedophile, depending on your preferred phrase? I did not mince words on that man. I made my disgust very clearly known. And just to remind everyone what the community did in response to Nova's video on Clay, let me roll you a clip. It's crazy that people are still defending Clay after this. Look, I kind of thought it was a little weird for people to still be completely on Clay's side, like, no questions asked after Nova's video dropped. And Nova's video already had really good evidence. And I knew Clay was guilty from the second that he was laughing that his fans harassed Nova with porn and they deleted the evidence folder. That is beyond fucked up. And you know that it just makes it worse because Most of the community are minors, and why were fans of Clay spamming Nova with fucking fetish porn and shit? Does that not speak to the type of company that Clay keeps?
Namely, how the things his fans did speak to the company Clay keeps and how my video already had good evidence. I find this incredibly ironic since he thinks me saying that the actions of his fans and his close friends, such as when Apache leaks private DMs where one of my friends was venting about the shit Ace did to them, just to get it back to Ace and use it as a gotcha moment. Apache being someone who has also had his friends gang up on me and try to create a dog spin on me. There's also Ace's fans delegitimizing my mental health struggles, but, you know, me saying that speaks to the community. Saying that speaks to the company he keeps around, you know, he says that's unfair and, you know, that's over the top, you know. Oh, when Clay has people spam when Clay surrounds himself with people who spam minors with porn and, you know, racist stuff, you know, that doesn't speak to Clay as a character or the company he keeps. But when you associate with these type of people, you know, people who use people's moments at their most raw, their most emotional, just to get back at somebody, and people who would be willing to dog someone who's already been doxed on multiple occasions, you know, that can't be used against you. No. See, it's different because I'm Ace, guys. You know, that's not the company I keep, even though I hold that standard for other people. Totally not hypocritical, totally not narcissistic. This whole bit is also ironic because he says that people should have bailed after my first video because I already had sufficient evidence against Clay, which is true. So, it's okay for people to bail on predators when I have enough evidence of them being predators, but it's not okay to bail on narcissists when I have enough evidence of them being narcissists. Suddenly the other side is needed. Right. Hey Ace, you know, you also didn't really do much during the Clay situation. You made a community post, which I did appreciate, and you left a comment. But it wasn't until January that you actually, you know, posted a video about it. You actually spoke up about it, you know, in a big way. I'll admit you did more than most, yes, but like so many of the other big creators, you never addressed it until Wes had stepped in. It's just another example of the pot calling the kettle black. Although, in this case, I guess it would be the pot feeling superior because it's dark gray rather than full-on black. But, you know, whatever. You made 2 videos bitching about being demonetized before you finally spoke up about Clay. And then you want to parade it around like you're some big guy or you're some amazing figure for speaking up about Clay. Hilarious. He then tries to, I think, use my case of being mobbed by the community as evidence to why his backlash was unjust.
But I bring that up not just to bash on sexual predators, though that is fun. No, I bring it up to show that the type of response I received due to Novaric Him is not exactly an isolated incident, and not exactly out of the ordinary for this community, nor really the most extreme one, because I would argue what happened with Nova is still more extreme than what's going on with me so far.
I find this hilarious, especially because he tries to call the community toxic and say that he was wrong for standing up and being optimistic about it in the past. So, let me get this straight. You saw the things I and others were saying about the community back in 2021 and yet remain optimistic. You saw the harassment I faced in early 2022, yet remain optimistic. You saw the actual crimes people committed against me and my friends during the Clay situation in October of 22, and yet still remain optimistic. You saw what your fans did to me and Saren in 2022 and 2023, and not only encouraged it, but remain optimistic about the character of the community. Yet when you finally face the backlash of the community that you helped to cultivate, that you defended in spite of all rationality and reason, you reaping what you've sown, suddenly the community is toxic. Suddenly people shouldn't be bothered with it. Another example of him just omitting shit and the pot calling the kettle black, which is common things that Ace does, as I brought up in the Novaric Him. Gee, I wonder why so many people were so quick to turn on him. After this, he doesn't really say much, just once again reaffirming the fact that the allegations are false, and again calling the people who switched up on him spineless. It's not too long of a video, yet there's so much omitting and false framing in this video that this video is probably going to be stupid long. As of me recording this part, the audio is about 17 minutes, and it's likely going to end out at around 20 minutes, so it's not that much longer than Ace's video for once. For once I make a response that isn't stupidly longer than the actual video. I mean, it's Brandolini's law, takes 10 minutes to debunk a 1 minute lie or some shit like that. I forgot the exact quote. Anyway, that's all I really have to say about Ace in his video. If it seemed like there was a lot of he said, she said in this video, that's because a lot of my points were already brought up in Novera Kim and the evidence is there. The points that weren't included, well, I already gave evidence for. I'm gonna focus on doing something actually productive in my life and not trying to use my misfortunes to play the victim and take digs at other people. I'm gonna go back to being me, trying to have a YouTube career, but probably getting sidetracked and playing Fortnite or some shit. And yeah, that's all I have to say. Fuck Ace, since it's clear he hasn't changed in a whole last year. And stand Toga, make a shrine to Toga, give all of your mortal possessions to Toga, include Toga in your religious ceremonies, and yeah, I'll see you guys whenever the fuck I upload.